Batman was directed by Tim Burton, and it stars Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and Kim Basinger. Last week, I had the privilege to see this film on the big screen, with the RPO accompanying the soundtrack. Also, Michael Keaton returning as the Caped Crusader in the upcoming Flash movie gives me the perfect opportunity to review this film. Much like the original Superman starring Christopher Reeve, this film is yet another milestone in the superhero genre. Before this film came out, comic book films were usually pretty tongue-in-cheek. That doesn't automatically mean they were terrible, though. I mean, look at the original Superman movie. That film ages really well, and I'm willing to admit, it is pretty cheesy. But that tone works for Superman. But for Batman, on the other hand, not so much. Yes, there's an endearing quality to the 60s Batman, and I actually do find a lot of enjoyment in the 60s Batman, but in my opinion, that is not an ideal take on the character. I think at that time, audiences really needed a more faithful adaptation to the Batman character. And aesthetically wise, I think that they got that with this film. This film was definitely a step in the right direction. Though I do have some issues with some of the creative liberties in this film. I really don't mind when filmmakers decide to take creative liberties in adapting a comic book character, but when those creative liberties really clash with the core fundamentals of that character, I do take issue with that. And this film does take some rather questionable directions with the Batman character. But before I do that, I feel like I should issue a spoiler warning. Yes, I'm willing to admit that this is probably unnecessary, since most of you have probably seen this film before. But I really don't want to take the risk of ruining it for someone who hasn't, so I am going to provide this timestamp for you to skip to if you have never seen this film and you want to receive my spoiler-free thoughts. But for everyone else, let's proceed. This film's opening is really strong. The reveal of the bat symbol just blew my mind when I was 10 years old when I saw this film for the very first time. Also, Danny Elfman's score is incredible. I don't know, you just can't beat Danny Elfman's score. I love Hans Zimmer's score for the Dark Knight trilogy, but I don't know, I think that Danny Elfman's score is just the Batman theme. His Batman theme is the Batman theme. I also really dig the atmosphere and setting of this film. Gotham City just looks like a neo-Gothic nightmare, and I absolutely love it. Burton's mise-en-scene and the Batman mythos just gels really well together. I also really enjoy the bait and switch during the opening scene of this film, making the audience think that they're about to witness the murder of the Waynes, but just for it to be a random mugging, I think is actually a really funny choice. The scene where Batman beats up those same muggers is ultimately there to set the tone. To give you a little history lesson, when Michael Keaton got announced as Batman, when it was announced that he got casted as Batman, this was a very controversial decision. Fans were worried that he was going to take the character in a campy direction, since at that time he was really known for taking on comedic roles. But this scene was put in this film to prove that this is not the 60s Batman. And it was there to sell the fact that Michael Keaton is Batman, that he is able to portray the dark and brooding character from the comics. Michael Keaton, of course, did a really solid job as Batman. His performance kind of set the blueprint for all the other Batman actors that succeeded him. His Batman rarely talks, and his costume prohibits him from turning his head. Yes, the action of Keaton shifting his entire body just to turn his head looks kinda silly, but it manages to make Keaton's Batman seem like an inhuman creature. I feel like that this little behind-the-scenes quirk really gives this film some character. Though Michael Keaton's performance as Bruce Wayne is kinda wooden, though. I enjoy how kooky he is, especially in this scene right here, but I feel like his performance as Bruce Wayne is really nothing spectacular. And I forgot, Lando Calrissian himself, Billy D. Williams, is in this film. Though his performance as Harvey Dent never really sold me on the character. I mean, I couldn't really unsee Lando Calrissian. Honestly, his performance is nothing groundbreaking, kind of like Michael Keaton's performance as Bruce Wayne. But I don't know, maybe he could have made a really good Two-Face. But the man of the hour here is clearly Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Yes, his performance has been outshined by Heath Ledger's incredible performance in The Dark Knight. But it is very clear in this film that Jack Nicholson is just having a blast playing that character. And you could just feel it through his performance. I mean, at the time, Jack Nicholson was kind of the obvious choice to play the Joker, just based on his performance in The Shining alone. Yes, his character isn't as three-dimensional as it is in The Dark Knight, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't have a blast watching his performance. Though I don't know how I feel about his origin story in this film. I feel like that making him a standard mobster just brings him a little too down to earth for me. Like, this is a very bright and colorful character, and I would have preferred it if his origin was a bit of a mystery. This is something I can ultimately look past. But one thing I just can't look past is the stupid third act twist that the Joker was the man who killed Batman's parents. First of all, this plot twist seems really forced and contrived. Apparently there was a writer's strike at Warner Brothers while this film was being written, and there's clear evidence that this plot point was rushed in, to provide a cliche third act twist. Also, I much prefer it to where the killer is just some random guy on the street who made a poor split-second decision that affected a boy's life beyond repair. But not to play the comparison game, but I love how in Batman Begins, Bruce starts out by wanting to get revenge on the man who murdered his parents. Unfortunately, someone else beats him to the punch, and this forces him to examine himself and to come to the realization that if he was successful in getting his revenge, he would have been no better than Joe Chill. In this film, of course, Batman gets his revenge and he murders the Joker, and he doesn't even think twice about it. I kind of take issue with the fact that Batman just has no problem killing people in the Burtonverse. I personally believe that Batman shouldn't kill. I know that this has been debated to death on the internet, but I feel that when you ignore Batman's moral code, you're ignoring a massive amount of depth that should be explored in any form of Batman media. Also, Batman really doesn't change in this film. Yes, this issue might be considered nitpicky to some, but I kind of leave this film feeling a little empty, because our protagonist never really goes on any form of a character arc, and I feel like that there's a lot of missed potential here with having our protagonist grow as a person and as a hero, and none of that is really present here. It's hard to be this harsh on a film that I grew up with and loved dearly as a child. Though I have to give this film major credit for setting the blueprint for the Batman franchise. This film walked, so films like The Batman and the Dark Knight trilogy could run. Yes, I have an issue with some of the writing in this film, though I would be foolish not to acknowledge the beautiful cinematography, the excellent score by Danny Elfman, and the really solid performances. Overall, Batman gets a B. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my review of Batman. And if you did, make sure to give this video a like. And if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell notification so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And shout out to Bowser Jr. and Ryan Gosling. Thanks for watching.